Okay. Apparently somebody decided to just hit the brakes on the series. Episode 13. 13, there's a number you want to mess with. But you know what? Bailey, Brandon, despite my better judgment, let's get into this. Oh, you know what? For anybody who's been coming here for any amount of time, I know the reason they came here tonight. I can't wait to see what Bailey has to say about this episode.
Don't act like you guys don't like it.
Right. But with that, we're back. Here we are. Another Saturday. Love you all. But first off, let's start with Bailey. How are you doing, ma'am? Outside of what I think we're about to talk about in general, how are things going for you, ma'am?
You know what? It's finally raining over here on Tatooine, so that really helps me a lot. So, yeah, it's kind of dark and gloomy outside, and that's how I like it. So
our high temperature was 79 here in Glendale yesterday. Right, it should be 109 here in Glendale, and it rained. So God bless you, Bailey. You're absolutely right. You know what, though? Brandon, speaking of which, how are you doing, sir? I know you've had a kind of an interesting and rough week. We don't get into personal matters here because that's your business, but I just want to make sure you're doing okay. How are you doing, sir?
It's all good now. Yep.
Everything's good. You doing all right, too?
Yeah. Okay.
All right. All righty. Well, you know what? Let's check into the comments, see where we're at here. There's the Left Coast Graphics forward to the Hammerhead show. I'll tell you what. They did actually use Hammerhead a little bit in this one, but I wish after what I saw, maybe they'd concentrated on Hammerhead just a little bit more. All right. Mr. Rez, sweet. I don't know if that's sarcasm or if that's accurate, but we'll take it either way. Good to see you, Mr. Rez. Hey, there's my favorite blue-haired brother. Hey, all you lovely people sleeping. It's good to see you, man. Thank you for stopping by. And always one of my favorites, Linda. Thanks for joining us from down under. I appreciate that. And you know how she do. She started off with Paul, and she moves over to what I like to lovingly refer to as the help, Bailey and Brandon. Just kidding, you guys. Yeah, you guys know I don't think of you like that. I appreciate it. And we got JT in the house. JT, good to see you, brother. JT. Always. So there we are. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are back for episode 13, Infested, of the Bad Batch. And I still can't believe it's been 13 episodes. And a couple of things keyed me in that we were going to have a much different conversation about this episode. Number one, it's 13. And like everybody knows, come on, man, 13, not a good number. But then they had the gall to call this thing Infested. And boy, I don't think they understood the double entendre exactly of what they were naming when they called it that. But you know what? It's not for me to say. I'm here because these two smart, intelligent people know much more about any of this than I do. So we're just going to defer right into this and, well, frankly, get right into this episode. So, Brandon, you know how I do. Always love to start with you, my brother. Give us some overall thoughts. Get us started into the episode and let us know kind of what you were thinking.
I had a tough time because, as we'll talk about it, I didn't hate the episode, but I didn't particularly enjoy it. It's the first thing that happens in the episode is them coming off the thing saying like, well, Sid didn't tell us there'd be a nest of Gundarks. It's like, that's what we want to see. That's like, we want to see them doing stuff. Like, we want to see them on, like, you know, the cool missions that they were like, ooh, that was a rough one. Not
where are these Gundarks at? I want to see these Gundarks, mother trucker. All right, go, Brandon. Sorry.
Yeah, but there are some things that we can talk about that make it interesting enough for me to say that like it wasn't a total waste of an episode, but it definitely it put the brakes on the minecart. We'll say that. That's what this episode did.
I see what you did there. That's good. Bailey, before we get over to you, I wanted to point out a couple of things here really fast. We had some comments on our last live stream from the illustrious Matt over at Matt's Collection. We love him. Matt, you know we love you. Always leaving lots of comments, can jump in when he gets a chance. He said, great analysis, y'all. Well, yeah, that's what I got Bailey and Brandon for. They got this. Definitely a lot of questions about the clones that need to be answered, which I don't think we're going to get the answers for. In regards to their inhibitor chips, I agree these problems are going to be the catalyst in the switch from the clone troopers to the stormtroopers. Brandon, you guys have heard me talk about that a couple of times in the past. Contrary to what we thought, and Bailey, I'd like to see which of you guys ends up being accurate on this one, because I tend to agree with you, though, Bailey. I believe Crosshair will have a redemption arc at some point, either by returning to his Bad Batch brothers or sacrificing himself to save them. And I wanted to ask you about that, Bailey, before we got your thoughts on this episode. I think if anything happens, Crosshair is going to end up having to sacrifice himself. I don't think he's ever coming back. I think he's going to have to do something and have a typical Star Wars, I did something nice arc. You think I'm off on that, or what do you think?
No, Paul, I'm completely with you. You guys know in the previous last week's episode, I kind of went into depth on what I feel a redemption arc should be, and I did point out that I don't think Crosshair, if he were to turn to the good side, I don't think that would necessarily be considered redemption, because I think in order to redeem yourself, you have to start in a certain area to begin with, and I don't think that's the case with Crosshair. But if that, and I've said this too, is I think in Star Wars we have yet to see a good redemption arc. It's as Paul said, every single one of them we've seen, ends up in someone sacrificing themselves or dying, apologizing last minute, and then they're gone forever. We've seen that with Vader. We've seen that with Asajj Ventress. It happens quite a bit. So if that were to happen, Matt, I would not be surprised. I think, I'd feel, there we go, because a lot of elements in this show have been predictable, and if they do choose to go down that route, then I'd be like, there it is. There goes another one. Let's add that to the list.
Right. Let's put that right up there really quick, because, I got to take care of my old brethren. There's John from Super Awesome Geek Show. He's still awake.
Were you able to watch the episode, John? He said that he hadn't caught it yet, so I wonder if between when we talked and now if he watched the episode.
Oh, okay. Really quick, as an aside, most of you in the chat probably know this, but what Brandon's talking about is he and a couple of other gentlemen have a wonderful live stream called the Peg Warmers, and it's usually, well, you guys rotate it through your channels, right, Brandon?
Yep.
Yeah. So they talk about pop culture, collecting, stuff like that. If you get a chance, pop over. But John is one of those. So let's see. He got a chance to watch it. That's good to know, John. Thanks. Appreciate that. And then finally, before we move on to you, Bailey, and I start getting your thoughts about this episode, I wanted to throw this one up real quick, too. This is from a gentleman by the name of Steve Speaks, who I have to admit I've never seen or heard from before, but I appreciated him stopping by and taking a look at us on the rewind. He said, awesome video, great analysis, love the content, take care. And you know what? We've talked about this, you guys. We do this because it's fun and we want it to, but come on, it's really nice to get those kind of accolades, right, Brandon?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're always so reserved. It's like, yeah, absolutely, for sure. You're so nice and so pleasant. I know. So pleasant. Bailey, before we get super in depth onto this thing, overall thoughts, get us in, start the plot off, something, please help a brother out. Come on.
Well, I'll just put it nicely. This was my least favorite episode.
Oh, that's a very nice way to put that.
I'll know if you've watched us for some time and you have a good idea of where my alignment is when it comes to Star Wars. It's bad if I say that I would rather watch the episode with the two sisters. And y'all know how I feel about that. So it's like, for me to say that this was bad or less than that, yikes. So yeah.
All right. Yeah. All right. You know what? That doesn't shock me one bit. The good news about spending this much time with you guys is I get a pretty good idea of where you're going to be. Bailey, I kind of figured. And then Brandon Biden here. The good news is there were a couple of redeeming qualities about this episode, but overall, I mean, whatever. Brandon, I'd like to go back over to you so we can start into some of the plot elements here, which I don't think are going to take very long.
Yeah.
We talked about them landing and complaining that she's not telling about the Gundarks. You know what? I just want to ask you this question really fast. This episode seems like it's out of order. I mean, it should have happened like 4 or 5 ago. What the heck is going on? Did we just do the done with the did on this?
Yeah, and it seems very odd for this to take place immediately after what we just saw. It seems like a complete slam on the brakes.
Yeah.
And, the fact that you think the Bad Batch would be like, hey, we need to have some urgency here because the Empire is totally coming after, innocent people. And no, it's totally just we were on a mission. There were some Gundarks. We'll just go chat with Sid and see what our next mission is. And I've seen some people say like, well, maybe this like Clone Wars, when it initially was released, won't be in chronological order. But there are some things that don't make quite sense with that. And somebody pointed out that Wrecker would still be having problems with his chip if that were the case with this. But it's like they could easily gloss over that.
Like they did a bunch of times.
Yeah, but I don't think it's out of order. I just think they had a really good arc, and they were just like, hey, where are we going to put this episode? And it was just like, ooh, right here. And sadly, now we've got 3 left. And yeah.
Well, you know what? 2 things, and then I got a question for you, Bailey. First of all, JT, can I just say right off the bat, I like this episode. And I don't think under any circumstances, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, any of us as super hardcore Star Wars fans, I mean, Brandon said it before, look at our backgrounds. Bailey, we can't see your background, but all of us, we love this. None of us have disliked these episodes. Yeah. Okay. All right. Whoa. What's up, Flex? Just hit it. Yeah. Bailey can outflex us all. She's got it on her skin. So we like these episodes, JT. But from a review, critical analytical standpoint, we're trying to figure out why they're doing some things. And as Bailey likes to put it, I don't think we're mad. We're just disappointed. Thank you. Yeah. So that, and then a really quick, there's this Cardona. Thanks for stopping by. I'm overhearing. All right. Let me see what Linda has to say here real quick, Bailey, before we get over to you. I'm overhearing Omega say they had. Oh, so this is one of the things that we'll talk about later when I think we'll talk about the good things they're doing because they're trying to do some character development. But Linda's like, over here, I'm hearing Omega say they have to help everyone. Just once, I'd like to hear the reply of, yeah, get your backside on the ship. That would be awesome. But Bailey, I have a question for you. As you are a professional writer, and we can say that in earnest because you actually are. You've been published, so you understand story writing and episodic analysis better than Brandon and I do. We're just kind of like really in-depth Star Wars fans. What's going on with the placement of this episode? Can you tell what they're trying to accomplish or why they did this? Like when we pull the e-brake on the car here. Any ideas?
I have a feeling that they are really milking this so that a season 2 will happen. Because when I first saw it, when I watched this, it's like, why would we see an episode that was essentially another side mission when we have like 3-4 episodes left? Like, it doesn't make sense. Because when you write books and whatnot, or even when you're reading books, you don't read chapters where you're like, something big just happened, and then like all of a sudden, like this episode just seems so disconnected from that. Like, just like none of that stuff ever happened. It feels just out of place like that. And I honestly I can't logically explain why they would do such a thing. That is, to me, like, you just hurt the story because you just you gave us something wonderful and, it left where it was like, okay, Crosshair is apparently going to start getting serious now and they need to be on the run and things are getting serious. And then they just, this was just so, the tone just is so off. So the only thing I could think of is they are just really milking things out for a season 2 to happen. And why, I don't know, because I feel like the Bad Batch is just so all over the place in terms of plot, and it's not I know people are going to compare this to the Clone Wars, where it's like maybe this is an anthology series, but it's just like we were not led to believe that from the get-go. We were always told this is going to be a solid story of exactly this is what happens after Order 66, and it's just been all over the place. So I don't know. That the only thing I could think of is really, I think they're going to try to push it for a season 2. I think they're really going to stretch this as thin as they can, because otherwise it doesn't make sense to pump the brakes this hard at the very end.
Fair enough. Well, Brandon, let's go over to you. From an ardent and very educated Star Wars fan, who, quite frankly, is one of the most impressive knowledge bases I've seen, which is why you're on this show. Do you have any idea or any contemplation as to why they would, like last episode, we ended with permission to hunt them down. And we're like, you know, you can hear the music in the background. Dun, 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 dun. And then this episode's like, any idea in your mind why they may have done that?
And as we talk about this, we can add to that because we see some crime syndicates, and I the only logical thing that I can think of is that they're going to add another level to it, but that now I fully believe that there will be a second season with it, and that we will see more of the stuff, and it'll even be we'll still get episodes where the Bad Batch aren't in it, just like we, they were there for a weapons drop off. But we'll get stuff built around them. And I honestly think we will see some of the post-Shadow Collective crime syndicate trying to carve out their space in the not pre-Empire, but Empire transfer of power.
So kind of like the pre-Han Solo movie type of thing is what you're saying.
Right.
Where a bunch of them already have. Okay.
So I honestly think we might, because the Pikes, the last time we saw them was in season 7 of the Clone Wars, and they were doing the spy stuff with the Martez sisters and the Ahsoka, which led into the Maul, and Maul took control of the Shadow Collective. And as we know, at some point during this transfer from Republic to Empire, Darth Maul kind of takes over and does Crimson Dawn.
Yeah, good point. So really fast, Left Coast, first of all, always good to have you. Your chat's great. But he liked this episode, and I mentioned it earlier. We didn't dislike this. We haven't disliked an episode yet. We're just a little, as Bailey puts it, disappointed. Thank you for that term, ma'am. And you know what? And JT's got a point here. Maybe 16 episodes was a bit much for them. The Mandalorian has, only 8? Brandon, Bailey, do you guys remember how many Mandalorian had? It was somewhere low like that, right?
Yeah, it's about 8. And they're an hour long.
Brandon, does that sound right to you?
I mean, yeah, it does, because if you combine the 2 episodes together to equal, I mean, it's the same amount of time as being given to the Bad Batch as the Mandalorian.
Oh, were the Mandalorian episodes, they were close to an hour? I can't remember.
They were 40, anywhere from 40 to 50 some minutes.
Okay. So it's kind of what you're saying is it's kind of end up being a wash.
Because I think so.
Okay. No, that's why you're here. If Bailey or I are wrong or you're wrong, we need to tell each other. So if it's basically the same amount of time, especially if I'm wrong.
I don't know if I'm right.
Yeah, but you sound convincing, so that's all that matters.
And just going off of JT's comment, and this is something that I felt pretty early on in this series, is I think we bit off a lot more than we could chew with this show, and I think some things are probably better off as movies, or where we can just get to the point and get everything done instead of stretching this out and having all these fillers. Because like I said, that the plot of this show has just been so all over the place, and I think they are just we've had so many at least I know the term filler could be taken in a negative light, but we've seen quite a bit of episodes just like this. And, I just can't help but wonder, it's we're just adding things just to add things instead of telling a complete story. So I just think as time goes on, I think the Bad Batch would have been a way more successful movie where you're forced to kind of stay on one track instead of stretching it so thin where every week we're I don't know what they're going, or is there going to be a season 2? I don't know. Where are they doing? Where are they going with this? So yeah, JT, I agree. I think this is they've taken on a lot, and I know they premeditate, all these ideas, but just the way things are going, I'm just this seems so rushed to me. And it just seems there's a lot of hands in the pot. So I don't know. I think this was a lot for them.
I don't disagree with you. And we've had someone who's been with us since day one on this live stream. He pops in every time. Brandon and I know him very well. So when I throw this up here, Bailey, you'll understand that he says this because he agrees with the OGs. Here we go. Because everybody who saw this episode, who comes to this show is Sure. Bailey's gonna rip this one a new butt, and as well you should, by the way. So we're all in agreement with you, just so you know.
I'm not that scary, guys. Come on.
I think we've had this conversation before, right, Brandon? She's not that scary.
Oh, where'd it go? Where'd it go?
Oh, the help me sign.
Took too many notes while watching videos.
Please tell me you still have the help me sign. Make another one, Brandon.
It's right here on top of
You
my
know,
computer.
guys, I do have my teacher hat when I'm on camera, and that I don't believe I've sworn on camera, so that's a pretty good indicator that I have. Believe me, I'm keeping a tight lid. So
I think you've done an excellent job, and Brandon is also doing an excellent arts and crafts job of making the help me sign even more obvious. I bet, yeah.
I love it.
While he does that, there's our buddy Jay Squared. Brandon, Bailey, and Paul, good to see you, Joker. I appreciate you stopping by.
Which, quick question, guys, because I was talking about this with some of our viewers that watch this. Is like Brandon and I are very much like a Luke and Leia dynamic almost. Luke is always like kind of like chill and Leia's the one that's kind of like gonna pop off.
Yeah, Bailey, as long as you don't grab Brandon by the cheeks and slap a smooch on him, I'll agree with that. Yeah, that part. Yeah, okay.
Also, he's only like thousands of miles away, so
still the internet. Just saying. Yeah, absolutely. You know what? I haven't read this whole thing, but I'm going to dare to put it up just because Left Coast is nuts, and we'll see what he says. The season will end, credits will roll, and then a post-credit with Hammerhead killing Jabba taking his hammer time. Jesus, Left Coast, I love you, brother.
Canon, sir.
You know what? I would subscribe to a new channel just to see that craziness. I'm not gonna lie. All right. Let's get this really serious here. Brandon.
Yeah.
A couple of plot points. We already mentioned it. They get off a ship. We're right back on Ord Mantell. You know, for the Empire and a Crosshair and bounty hunters. Can I just be rude for a second and say, how bad do you have to suck? You can't find these guys yet. They've been on Ord Mantell for months, right, Brandon?
Yeah.
And okay.
It even bothers me a little bit more because Sid mentions that Roland here, who is a Davaronian,
first seen in the cantina on Tatooine. Yes, this is bourbon and railgun. But Sid even mentions that, hey, he took this over from me because he sees its use and because it's in multiple space lanes. Yeah, it's in the right. I mean, it's in the middle of like it's not out like
it's very easy to get to, and it sounds like it would not be that hard to find. So that
did they just give up?
Check out Gilster. Was this episode out? No. Gilster, yeah, we talked about that. It feels like it, doesn't it? So I'm sorry. So go, Brandon. The Devronians in her office when they walk in. What happened?
So Roland here, who is the son of a crime boss, and he's trying to carve out his little space on Ord Mantell and is doing some spice stuff with the Pikes. So as we've seen in Solo and in season 7 of the Clone Wars, the Pikes, they like their money and they don't like when people screw up. So there were actually some points in this episode that were kind of entertaining where it's just like he doesn't realize how badass they are. Like, right. So here we have the Pikes, and I honestly, this is where I think you don't bring the Pikes in unless you have a plan going forward with that. So that's why I think we'll see more of the crime syndicate stuff.
Positive thing number 1 about this episode, laying groundwork. Go, Brandon.
Yeah. So, and then Sid basically lets them know, like, hey, Roland is trying to, do a spice deal, and he basically took my parlor. And she's like, the way that we can get around this is we can steal the spice and make Roland's life terrible through the Pikes. So that's pretty much, the whole plot of this episode right there is them going and getting this spice. And
right. So yeah, because we'll back up a little bit here. Bailey, you remember Omega? Because the Bad Batch are like, well, sucks to be her. We're out of here. What was Omega's response to that, and what do you think the purpose of that was?
I don't know. Honestly, it's just like this. This was one of those very predictable episodes, and I knew right off the bat when they needed to go get the spice, they're gonna use the kid as collateral because they've always done that, and like, and I'm like, I knew right away, just knowing how they're using Omega, and that this Roland guy, he's in trouble too. He's handcuffed, and they're not happy with him. And it's like, oh, she's going to try to bond with the villain and, find humanity in him. I don't know. Have group therapy. I don't know. Because that's what they seem to use her for. She's kind of like wasted reason because she's a child. I don't know. I'm trying to understand this characterization.
I just thought it was because she was a girl. Maybe
that too. And what I find interesting is I like how like sometimes we see her like intermittently use her bow. And it's like, okay. That there's so many things that happen that you're like, that would have been interesting to see, but whatever. Apparently she can use her bow now, even though like Sid has said like she can't use it. You're small and you have noodle arms, but whatever. Anyway,
in the same episode, 10 minutes apart, but yeah.
So I guess Omega is just there to tell you, the audience, if you have not picked up on it at this point, that Omega is the
moral center.
There you go, like the moral compass. I was looking for the right, but
okay.
Yeah.
All right. So they basically just take one of those Escape from New York baseball bats with the nails in it and go, Omega's the moral compass. Pow! Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, excellent. I don't know what they really think of their audience at this point.
Well, in their defense, and I can't believe I'm about to say this, apparently it's aimed at a slightly younger demographic who are assumed to be less, in my opinion, this is what they're doing, who are assumed to be less sophisticated, but I think they're even underestimating that group. But that's neither here nor there. So, Brandon, let's go back over to you. So he's going to make a deal with the Pikes. We talked about the Pikes. They've been around. That was a nice little callback to a couple of different things. He's got some spice in the back of the parlor there. And what's the plan here?
They are going to steal the spice from the office. So Sid knows of the underground mining facility that has been shut down. And they're going to sneak under the parlor and then come up in the parlor and take the spice and then take it back through. And then Roland's going to be sitting there without the spice, and the Pikes are going to go, hey, where's our spice? And it's, that they're hoping that they'll cart Roland away and that Sid will get her parlor back. But doesn't go down like that.
So one of the things that they're worried about is, Tech, my favorite guy's like, how do we know he's not going to be in the office when we get there? And she's like, I got this covered. This was probably the most redeeming quality of this whole episode for me. So, Brandon, we're going to stick with you for just a second. Bolo and Ketch, the Laurel and Hardy of the parlor. Tell us what goes on here and what you thought of that.
Sid's got him in place with little communicators to let her know when he's out of the office. But they steal Ruby. They get some Mantel mix, the Disney park exclusive popcorn, and the Weequay there, right? Drops the little pieces of popcorn and leads the little creature, the little tortoiseshell creature, out, and then Kenner Hammerhead puts him in a box, and they try to steal him and hide in an alley. And I think Roland's troops are more competent than they thought. Or Hammerhead just doesn't realize that, hey, this creature's probably not going to like being in a box. So it bites his finger, and he drops it, and the creature gets out.
Nice.
So to make things tense, the heist job doesn't go as well as they plan.
Shockingly. Can you believe that, you guys? Bailey, we're going to go over to you next, but really fast before we do that. David was busy getting his Red Dead Redemption suds on before. People take baths still. That's cool. Good to see you, David. That was pretty cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know. I own this house for 16 years. I haven't been in the bathtub yet. I'm just in the damn shower. But anyway, and John's got a point. He's got I don't know much about Pokemon. Brandon, you did a Pokemon thing or other. Is that accurate? He's got a Pokemon as a pet. Yeah, is it Mon or Man? Whatever.
Mon.
Yeah. Pokemon.
Yeah, that's when my 51 years pops right out. You can tell. Like, oh, David, just let the potato sucked. I wrote a little song about it. Like to hear it? Here it goes. He's like, what happened? It was getting better. Oh my God. Tell me about it, bro.
I'm so with you.
Oh, yeah. He had a great bath. That's wonderful. Did you pay the extra $1 to get the girl to come in? No Red Dead Redemption 2 thing? Okay, never mind. I'm going to talk about that later. Anyway, let's just make sure I'm not missing anything. Oh, he was playing with his brand new Aquaman. That's how his hair fell off. Oh my God. David is our people. Yeah. There you go, Linda. Yeah. You were playing with Aquaman. Okay, bro. Yeah, well, this is starting to get PG-13. Let me make a little closer attention here.
You just went off the rails.
Yeah, David's like, yeah, the one from Justice League, Jason Momoa, Aquaman. Oh no. JT. Oh, this is getting good. That's a good point. Oh, wait, hold on. Wait, there you go. It'll grow back. Don't worry about it. All right. Oh, and then there you go. In all seriousness, that's the main problem. It was just, I could tell you everything that was going to happen as it happened. So it was just ridiculous. But it was all part of the plan. Oh my God. So Bailey, I want to talk about another, because you're the writer. I know, Brandon. Welcome to Paul's Collectibles. That's what we do around here, especially when Paul doesn't stop drinking before we do the live stream. So shockingly, Bailey, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this, there just happens to be a tunnel that ends right in her office. What is your thoughts on this writing?
I just think everything is just so convenient. And God, guys, this is just really hard for me.
I'm not going to argue with you.
Yeah, I just all I could think of during that part of the episode, I'm like, oh, this is like bootleg Geonosis. Yeah.
Okay, well, since we're talking about bootleg Geonosis, this woman, or whatever you want to call it, knows what's down there. Yeah. And I'm going to jump ahead to the end of the episode so that we can correlate to what's currently going on, and just takes him down there anyway. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the episode, in like 30 seconds, Tech can do this. Why the hell this woman didn't just say, this is what down there, let's take some lights? Bailey?
I feel like this is becoming very symbolic of how these Lucasfilm writers are treating us with this show. Is like they kind of just they don't tell you anything, and then like miraculously a solution pops up. So I don't know. I can't find logic in this episode, guys. I really can't, and I'm a little concerned that I feel like with each episode we have it's a kid show and a paycheck for them. I understand that, but it's like it's so insulting because they know this is going to grab people like us attention, and I don't know, guys. I'm starting to think that they just have brand new writers with each episode and nobody's on the same page, and I don't know. I don't know what to say. That just like things just happened, and
here we are.
They happened.
Yep. Well, Brandon, let me talk to you about this really fast. Yeah. I know we've jumped to pretty much the end of the episode, and we'll go back and continue through. But when you saw this, I know how this made me feel, because I was like, how did it make you feel when you're like, oh, there was a solution the whole time?
Where'd he get that?
Like, yeah.
What? You need it because he's so smart, remember?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. This is supposed to be the Bad Batch. These guys are the biggest badass in the entire colonial army. Theoretically, they're like, army rangers or special forces. They're prepped. They're they know that. And they didn't know going in that this infestation might be this and bring lights.
Right. It would have been nice for Sid to, tell them and say, hey, we got these. And then Tech would be like, oh, let me look in like my brain to see if we know what those creatures don't like. Here, let me make this light bomb so we can use it if we get in trouble. Not, hey, I have this light bomb. But
yeah, okay, yeah. Brandon, right back to you.
Yeah,
I don't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry. I'm just this one got me really emotional, and you guys know I've had a little bourbon. Boba Fett on the back of his ship as a civilian with access to no military weapons whatsoever. has a thing that makes the coolest sound in the Star Wars universe that obliterates everything within 5. Why the hell don't these guys have one of those and drop it down the hole before they go down there?
Because they're not as badass.
Bailey, do you have a better answer than that by chance? Or a different answer?
Sorry, but I have to go with Brandon there. Boba Fett's just cooler, I guess. You know,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, but like, man, these guys just win no points for me in terms of getting me to love them. That's one of them.
All right. Yeah. So I was just wondering, because I watched this, and you guys know me. The animation doesn't do it for me. I try to pay attention specifically since we do the show, and it's still Star Wars, and I'm happy to have it. So sometimes I'm thinking, am I missing something? Am I not catching a character arc either from a super fan point like Brandon or from a writer point? So it's nice to hear you guys just be like, I got nothing. But anyway, so we'll go over here real fast. There you go. Matt, were your ears burning? We were talking about you earlier, man, just so you know. At the very beginning, and it was positive.
Blitz had a good comment.
Yeah, there's Blitz. Oh, we'll get down there. I'm sure I missed a bunch of comments while I was going off. So there's Blitz. Good to see you. And there's John again. It was Pitch Black, not Geonosis. These birds were. I forgot all about that. This was a remake. It was a heist flick coupled with Pitch Black.
Pitch Black.
Good job, John. Yeah, very good job. Let's see what we got going on down here before I move on. And then David agrees that's what he was thinking. Yeah. That's, and I've said this before. I like this, and I'm having fun, and we would do this anyway. But I can't wait for both the Boba and Mando Fett shows. You guys know what I'm talking about. I can't wait for them to get here.
I mean, it's kind of cool that it's like Mando Fett.
It's kind of Mando Fett now. That's a good point,
yeah.
Huh?
See a little crossover.
Yeah, there you go, Bailey. That's for you. I swear.
Yeah, I would have some. I would have a lot of things to say if I was in there. I'd still be classy, but
of course,
I am very confused on what is going on in that room and what they're thinking.
Right. Well, Matt agrees with you. You had a feeling you weren't going to put this in your.
You guys know me so well.
Oh, let's see here. We'll get down here and then I'll move on, Brandon. I promise. I thought I read it goes. Oh yeah. Oh, okay. I don't know much about Lord of the Rings. Anybody want to make a comment on that? JT said it was more like the Mines of Moria.
Yeah. And this is not the first time that we've had a bunch of references from Lord of the Rings. They're like I've caught on to a lot of them, and I've actually really enjoyed it. But they're trying to be quiet, and they drop something, and then like the whole orc colony wakes up, and then they're like, oh crap. And that definitely was
so again, another recycled idea that we have seen.
I remember this. So I saw Lord of the Rings a long time ago. Didn't one of them, Brandon, touch like a skeleton or something, and the helmet falls into the hole?
The whole body falls.
Oh, okay. It's like the whole body.
The whole
right,
body
yeah.
and a bucket and everything.
Oh, great. And that's when all the bad guys come out?
Yeah.
Kind of like what happened in this episode? Because Bailey, who dropped the flashlight in this episode?
Was it Wrecker?
Yeah, come on. See, yeah, it was right. Of course, it was Wrecker.
I almost blanked out there for a second because it's just like, it was him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, and here we go. David Moria had orcs in a cave troll, and Durin's Bane. Do you guys know what that is?
It's the big Balrog creature.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It was the big Baltron thing.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Linda, I love your comment.
Oh, okay, hold on. To me, some of the episodes coming. It's on the last night.
We got to write something.
Very, very true, and that's why I love having your perspective, Bailey. Because it's Matt. Damn it, Pippin.
We're gonna start too, so I very much know the difference.
Oh my God, we're gonna call Wrecker Pippin from now on. So, as we talked about, conveniently, there's a way to get to Sid's office. They get the stuff. I know you guys are going to find this hard to believe. On the way back, the orcs, or Brandon, did you figure out what those things in the
I could never figure out the bat creatures' names.
Bootleg Geonosians.
Yeah, the bootleg Geonosians. The bootleg Geonosians caused them to shockingly lose all the spice. I know, right? So they go back, And of course, now the Pikes are there, and the Pikes are portrayed pretty much like the Sopranos, for God's sakes. I mean, they just don't take any crap and everything like that. And we get this whole thing where they're like, "That's going to go. You're going to go back and get it for us, or we're going to have issues." Bailey, I brought this up with you earlier, but I'd like for you to expand on that a little bit if you want, because I thought this was number 2 redeeming quality in this episode. What's going on here, and what did you get out of this episode specifically as it pertains to Omega?
Yeah, it's really just at first it started off as Omega was going to try to get herself out of that situation, and Roland was immediately like, yeah, no, don't do that, like they're going to kill us both, like there's no point. And she just, she starts talking to him like, kind of like, what's your deal and why do you do what you do? And the Pokemon is going in between them and both, and that leads Omega to think that if the Pokemon likes him, then he can't be an all bad guy. And so essentially this was just a, I don't know, characterization. I'm telling you, this Roland guy got more characterization in these 2 minutes or so than the entire Bad Batch has had in this whole show. So I guess that's a positive right there. Is like, I know more about this man and what makes him stand out than the rest of them. Right.
And Matt makes a good point. The Pikes were portrayed as the same in season 7 of the Clone Wars. And it was kind of interesting to see them again, especially since I also like the Solo movie. But Bailey, you made a good point there. We got a really big character arc on this Roland guy. And I'm wondering, and Brandon, I'd like to go to you. Are they setting this dude up to be a ally of the Bad Batch next season, you think?
I don't know.
It's okay to be wrong. Make a prediction, bro.
No,
Throw it out there. What do you think?
I wouldn't think so. Well,
okay.
See, and people were hung up because in Rebels we had a Davaronian who had a broken horn that is the same color as Roland, and his name was Vizago.
I was gonna say that guy's name was different.
Right.
Okay.
So different characters, but we might see him again. I don't know if it'll be. It might be one of those love-hate things, like oh
sure.
my God.
He's a bad guy, but we have to deal with him.
Spacing his name. The Jesus.
It's not Jesus. I'm pretty sure it's not him.
Oh my God. The guy from Clone Wars and
that's all you, Bailey.
The guy who voiced Winnie the Pooh was
Hondo.
Hondo.
Oh,
I do not know why Hondo.
Look at Gilster. Look at Gilster.
Hondo, yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That was rough. I feel like it might be a thing with Hondo where if there's a season 2 and they run into him, and it'll be like everybody else is like, this guy's kind of sketchy, and Omega's like, hey, but Ruby liked him, so we can trust him, right? Right? Yeah. But I don't know if he'll honestly be that important. And
honestly, yeah, guys, just look at how they're treating Echo. Just because you see them somewhere and they come back doesn't mean they're going to be utilized. So I'm going to keep that in the back of my head too.
Yeah, fair enough. Alan Cummings. I know who that actor is. Is that the guy that plays?
He did the voice of Optimus Prime and Winnie the Pooh and Hondo.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Let me go through these real fast. Yeah, David, the Pikes were the coolest thing about this whole episode. And you know what? Left Coast reminding me of the pet creature in The Fifth Element. Oh, yeah, the one when he's choking on a grape or a cherry and it comes out. That's a good point. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? No, okay, yeah, that's I you know what, Left Coast, I knew what you were talking about. It's all good. Take the Pikes. At first, there was a guy. Oh yeah, he's like, at first I thought this guy was Vizago. I'm glad he wasn't. Yeah. Of course, just because Matt has said that now, they're going to disappoint Bailey and you, and he's going to change his name and go into business with the Rebels. Oh, Hondo Omahas. Man, down. I just got here. Oh, here's Mando. Clips. Oh, he changed the spelling so it says Clips now. So it's definitely Mando Clips and not Kilps. Sorry about that, Mando. I didn't want to offend you last time, but I thought it might be Clips. But anyway, Bailey, though, one of the biggest things we got out of this was them hitting us over the head with the fact that Omega is the moral compass of the group, and they really drove it home here. Did you think this was necessary? What did you think of this scene and how this interchange went on?
I did not think this was necessary. I mean, honestly, you can delete this entire episode probably, and it wouldn't make a ton of difference story-wise. I truly believe that, because nothing we've seen here is new. Besides this Roland guy. I think he is the one honest to God new thing we saw in this entire episode. Everything else we've seen before. It's the same place. We're doing the same things, and Omega is forever leverage of some sort. And no, I don't think it's necessary, because I think we get it. It's like, we understand. I would love to see that same effort put into a character, I don't know, like Echo or like someone else in the Bad Batch that they really like are hyper fixated on this kid, and it's like I get it. So no, I don't think any of it was necessary.
Brandon, that's a good word. I like what Bailey said, because necessary popped into my head as well. Would you agree? Was this necessary, or did you get enough out of this to where it belongs in the season?
So just like with a couple of the other episodes that have been really low on our list, like the Fennec Shand and then the one with the sisters, I think when we get more context to it, it'll be a lot better. Whether it's we see Roland again, we see the Pikes, if we end up seeing Darth Maul or the rest of the crime syndicates, then we'll be like, okay, now we see why they sprinkled them in there. But it really does bother me when the momentum shifts so suddenly, especially with the last two episodes being so great. And it wasn't, those two episodes were not focused on the Bad Batch, but like we've said, it's the stuff that happens around them and the way that the universe is changing around them is really what interests us. Like They have not done enough development with these characters themselves to make them all that interesting. If I think honestly, if Hunter, Wrecker, or Omega died, those would be Echo, obviously Echo. But like if Tech or Crosshair, if they get offed, I'm kind of like, yeah, like I don't, and even but it is disappointing when the momentum shifts so suddenly. I did figure out the name of those creatures. They are called Irelings.
Irelings, that's right. Now I remember it because it sounded like the country. That's right. Yeah. So we got a couple of comments I want to go over really quick here. David says that he thought Sterling Holloway played Winnie the Pooh and KAA Cheshire Catfoot. Do you guys know what he's talking about there? Does that sound familiar? No? All right. Well, David threw that in there real fast. Here's a question for you guys. Tobias Beckett looks like he's in his 40s in Solo: A Star Wars Story. How old would he be about here then? Because you guys are good with the timeline.
I'm not good with the timeline.
Because Gilster's saying about 13.
How many years? Where does Solo fall in? Like, how close are we to episode 4?
I mean, Solo happens shortly before A New Hope.
Right, it's got to be like a year or two, right, Brandon?
Yeah, because the next thing that they're doing is, hey, like I heard a big time gangster's got a job. So they at the end of Solo, they're pretty much getting ready to go to.
So that's roughly 19 years. So if he was 13,
so this has happened.
That puts him at 32-ish.
Okay.
So I'm guessing this is 18 years before the Battle of Yavin.
Mm-hmm.
No, Beckett would probably be in his 30s.
Oh.
30s, 40s.
Okay. Because we know how old Woody Harrelson is, but they put more hair on him and did some makeup so he'd look a little bit younger. Because he's as old as I am, if not older, and that's really freaking old. So, but yeah, so he's a little bit older than that, Gilster, according to these guys. What's up, Brandon?
It's all good. It's all good.
Oh, okay. So John makes the point that this episode is taking us further into the underground and connecting it to the Pikes and the Darth Maul and his organization. Bailey, I see you making a face. You have a response to that? That's okay. You have a response to that, ma'am? Because I have a response, but I want to hear what you have to say.
Okay, so like I totally I get it if they are laying groundwork for something. My issue is they are not going about it a creative way. This episode was just stuff we have seen over and over and over again. And I just think there are so many other creative avenues we could be taking with this. Just like, I don't understand why in Star Wars, in a galaxy far, far away, where we have these infinite locations and whatnot, we are still stuck in the same place doing the same thing. So that's what I mean. It's like, I would not be surprised if that's what they were doing. And I agree that, like, you know, Brandon's probably headed in the right direction and that they're laying the groundwork for something. My issue is they could be doing this a lot better. And I had that same issue with some of the arcs in Clone Wars Season 7 is we could be handling this a lot better. We could be going about this in a way more creative way instead of, like, dragging us. Like we got off this high, these wonderful episodes, and then it just crashed.
Right. You know what? And that's, you're seeing that in the comments because John said, you know what, Maul is coming. The flip side to that, David's like, if Maul shows up, I'm done. Because yeah, they lean on that character a lot. You know what? And Mando's saying, you know, we're getting so many heroes in this show, and I know what he's trying to say. They're not properly developed, but they're like populating it with a bunch of new heroes and anti-heroes, like this new Roland guy who could pop up anywhere. And then, of course, you got mad at it. This week's episode was just a positive for the last couple of episodes, and it was just basically, as I think he's saying here, for Sid to owe them one. And then, you know, the most logical explanation, Disney Plus might have messed up the episode where it was that cowboy hat wearing cartoon making Filoni's idea. You know what? You guys have said this before. Who knows? Brandon, you look like you've discovered something you need to put out. What's up?
No, I was just timeline confusing stuff. I clicked a button and now it's gone. But
Mando says Solo's 12 years after Order 66, he thinks. Does that sound about right? And then, of course, John's saying Solo takes place before the end of Rebels.
Wasn't Han Solo born when Phantom Menace happens? So that would be 13 years.
All I know is Beckett was old enough to have pushed Aura Singh and killed her. Yeah. And she was in Phantom Menace as a full adult. So Beckett would be in his early 30s. I think you guys are right. James, but I think you guys are right.
Yeah, and because Maul dies in Rebels, but we see him alive in Solo.
Yeah. Oh my God. There you go.
Yeah.
We need a graph at this point.
Start filling this wall with a map.
Jim Cummings is the voice of Winnie the Pooh, Optimus Prime.
Jim Cummings, thank you, because I didn't want to throw it out there, but Alan Cummings is the very flamboyant Broadway actor who played the dark blue guy in X-Men. Nightcrawler, and a bunch of other things. Yeah, okay, so Jim Cummings, yeah.
So it says Tobias Beckett died in 10 years before the Battle of Yavin.
That makes sense because you had mentioned something, Brandon. You know me, I don't like to be argumentative, specifically with you guys. But Han Solo says, hey, I know about this big shot gangster that's got a big job. But we don't know if that's the first and only that I think he'd been working for Jabba off and on for years before Jabba finally had enough of him.
Right. Yeah.
That was just the impression I got. Yep. So, yeah. Oh, you know what, JT, wouldn't be Maul a bit too much for this show? You know what? I think so too. Left Coast, Bailey, you want to talk about, is there a method behind this madness, or what do you think? Are you confident?
You know, I don't know. Maybe there is. Obviously, you know, none of us are there behind the scenes, you know, putting all this together. So I can't confirm or deny that. But just the consistency that we've been seeing, or the lack of, I just have a really hard time believing that there's this grand plan. I think the only grand plan that's going on is to stretch these guys out as far as they can. Because, you know, in the beginning, I was like, this is going to be a one-shot season, but now it's becoming very clear that, or I don't know, or maybe these next 3 episodes will be a whiplash and it will be over with. I don't know. I'll just say, if there is a method, it's driving me crazy.
Brandon, Is there a method behind their madness, or are they kind of flinging some stuff up on the wall to see if it sticks?
No, because especially with all of the shows that were announced and who was announced to be the directors for them, Filoni being in charge of the Ahsoka, and then especially when they said that all of these shows are going to culminate in an MCU style, mega crossover. Thrawn and Ezra, it has been leaked by scoopers that they have been cast for their live action, the show, that the actors, and it's the guy who did the voice of Thrawn. So it's not Mads Mikkelsen, but his brother Lars, who actually did the voice for him in Rebels. And then
So
and then the guy who played Aladdin.
Are these?
They've got the Ahsoka show lined up. I'm guessing it'll tie into Mandalorian. Because we saw Morgan Elsbeth, the person who had the Beskar spear, and she was basically destroying worlds to get materials. Mm-hmm. And I'm guessing that she was building ships for Thrawn. So we'll see that tie in with that. And it really does sound like Rangers of the New Republic. What else is there? Obviously, like the Obi-Wan Kenobi and stuff won't tie in with that, but the Ahsoka, Mando, and Book of Boba Fett, I'm guessing, will all tie into this big finale that they've got planned in the end. So I honestly think, especially with, in some of the comic books, we saw the return of Kira. And I honestly think that's why when I saw the Pikes, I was like, okay, they're going to tie this into, we're going to get a second season. The Bad Batch is going to be the central people that this stuff is happening around. So we still might not ever get much development on them, but they will be in the important events of the building of the rebellion and the rise of the Empire.
Oh, okay. So really quick, there's John. I just wanted to say hi, John. It's good to see you. And back to what you're talking about there, Brandon. Matt says they're referring to the live action shows as the Mandoverse now. Have you heard that?
Yeah.
Bailey, have you heard that, or is that news to you too?
This would be news to me.
Okay. So just making sure it's not just me. I haven't heard that. That's kind of cool. So they're kind of, although some of these are disappointing, to use Bailey's words, there seems to be some loose plan, even if some of these episodes are disappointing. Is that what you're saying, Brandon?
Yeah. I mean, they're going to sprinkle stuff in, but eventually we'll be like, oh, it's, when they were talking about this and we saw the crime syndicate. I mean, at some point we can be like, oh yeah, that one episode that wasn't great, they did mention it.
Okay.
I think it should still be enjoyable. Right. The ride should be still fun. Like we shouldn't have to wait for this like grand finale to be like, oh, I get it, because it's going to take years and years and years for all these shows to come together. So it's like, in the meantime, please
that
don't
makes sense.
Do this to us.
Right. So Bailey, you've talked about this before. You don't keep up too much with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right?
No.
Okay. So I'm gonna step in as you for a second here. That way, you. Everything in the Marvel Cinematic Universe brilliantly ties into everything. And when I say brilliant, you're like, damn, that's really good. I don't know how they plan that out. But each individual movie, for the most part, with very little variance, especially not to the percentage here, has been entertaining and exciting and every little thing. So what you're saying is, you can get us there. Just keep us interested each time as you go. Am I right, Bailey?
Absolutely. Yeah, it should be an engaging ride. And I think that's why Marvel is, so successful the way it is because, like you said, every project they come out with is not lackluster. They seem to knock it out of the park, every time.
We'll say that this episode is like the Thor to the Dark World of the MCU when it comes to Star Wars. Or the episodes that are kind of like, but
fair enough.
And I definitely agree with that. They should do a better job of making it entertaining. But I mean, when I look back at the Clone Wars, not every episode was great.
Right.
And there were arcs where it was just like, was that needed? But then it was, what really made the show were 6 or 7 really, really good arcs. And I think without, even if it doesn't seem like there's much progression or character development with this, I feel like it makes us appreciate the characters more just because we have more interaction, where, you know, people were just like, well, why, you know, like the Clone Wars, when it came to Obi-Wan and Anakin, people were just like, yeah, we didn't really see them having like that close of a relationship and blah, blah, blah. And then you watch the Clone Wars and you're like, oh, wow. Yeah.
But, you mean Attack of the Clones in Clone Wars? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. So,
okay.
I mean, there is a plan. I'm not saying that every single episode is tied into that plan. Cause I mean, obviously this will probably be my lowest ranked episode, but
I agree. I think we have a lot of hands in the pot here, and it shows. It really does.
Well, John mentioned it earlier. He was talking about, looks like Favreau showed up, gave some ideas, or maybe even Filoni. Maybe it was Filoni. Gave some ideas, and then he bounces to go work on some other stuff. Then he comes back. He's like, "Oh, by the way, do this," and then leaves again. And in between, you know, so who knows? That might be the case.
And if that is the case, then they probably shouldn't do that. Then, if you can't give your 100%, and especially if this is Filoni's creation and like something that he wanted to do on George's behalf, I would think that he would not do that. But I could be wrong. You know, none of us are there. So, but yeah, I think when you come out with a project, especially now that they have like the resources and, you know, Disney money, that they really should put the time in and give us a really good product every single time. Not like, don't do a Netflix thing where they come out with so much stuff. And they're not all great. So that's what I don't want it to become, is like, we're just busting out all these projects. And so I hope that's not the case.
So I will tell you guys before we move on. One of the things this episode reminded me of was the longevity and economic viability of the writers. And what I mean by that is every now and then it seems like someone gets a chance to put their idea or their plot line in, and what they're doing is giving us something that that's either so apropos of nothing that we need more explanation, or leaving us hanging in a fashion that makes them viable again. So I'm not explaining this well. I think that there are people who are putting themselves into this. They're trying to make sure they get to come back. I think that might be one of the problems as well. So who knows? But you know what? We have a sage, intelligent, wise person in the comments who just puts it succinctly. And I can just tell you that this really sums it right up. Am I right, guys? Quality over quantity.
Sarah,
right? I mean,
so lovely. Yeah, that's the best way to put it. Like in 3 words, she like just took the monologue that I did and put it into 3 words.
Right. I mean, for goodness sakes, you know. Oh, really quick, Sarah, I got the shirt, old girl. So my wife provides most of my T-shirts. So, and oh, there you go. Look at David trying not to get shot from long distance. Sarah nailed it. Good point. Yeah, she really did. But anyway, yeah, exactly. Brandon, can I come to Minnesota? But you know, and in all seriousness, that's a word, right, Brandon? It's a bourbon word, is what it is.
Yeah,
mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, she's got a good point. It's really quality over quantity, and that's what we're looking at here. And then I think there's some competing interests, is what I was basically trying to say earlier, and people trying to make sure they get a shot to come back because they've started some characters that maybe some people like. But anyway, so shockingly, they get the spice back, and everything's fine, and they end up cutting off the Deveronian's horn, as Brandon mentioned earlier, instead of killing him. And Omega sticks up for him, shock and everything like that, and then the episode's over. So incredibly predictable.
Yeah.
Right, guys?
Did you notice Wrecker screaming when they're pulling them up on the tightrope thing?
Like a little girl.
He screams, "Get me out of here!" But it is like, you can't even tell it's Wrecker. Like, I was like, was that Sid? But listening to it with my headphones. I was like, oh my goodness.
You can hear it over the headphones. Yeah. And
he is squealing.
Yeah, right.
It was pretty, I think that was one of my favorite parts.
Fair enough. Monsters and heights, not his jam. Okay. He doesn't like either of those. So,
yeah.
Oh, but anyway, Gilster already knows where we're going with this. We're going to hit the goods and the bads. I think we've beat this to death. We could have done without it, but it's still Star Wars and we love it. We're here to review things and critique them. Brandon, let's start with you, sir, because I want to start off on a positive one, because I think I know where Bailey's going with this. If you had to give this a 1 to 10, this episode and this episode only, where are you at on a 1 to 10, sir?
A 5.
That's not bad. That's not bad. Why did you not go lower?
Because I think it is setting up. We might see Roland again. We will most likely see the Pikes again. It tied it to some of the crime syndicates that we've seen before, and like somebody mentioned earlier, it puts Sid in the position where the Bad Batch might need a favor again from her, because now she's kind of owes it to them. But yeah, I mean, I put it very middle there. It was predictable, but parts of it, there were parts that I enjoyed, where it's like, of course you're going to split the group up. You're going to send Sid, who knows what's going on, and Wrecker, the ones who's afraid of the bugs and the heights. I didn't hate this episode, but I think this is the lowest I've, right?
Yeah.
This is the lowest I've done.
Your other lowest was a 7, I think. You might be tied for 6. I don't think you've given anything a 5 or lower, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Bailey, you've already kind of hinted at this, but if you had to give this episode a 1 to 10 on likability scale, ma'am, where are you at?
Guys, don't hate me, and please don't take this number as absolute hatred or anything like that, but I'm gonna have to go with a 1, guys, and I'm sorry. And I've seen a super awesome say, this wasn't as bad as 2 and 3, but I feel like the difference between those episodes and this is I feel like I gave a lot of leeway when it came to these fillerish episodes that were in the beginning, because it's okay, that's fine. We still got a bunch more to go. Everything's going to be fine. My issue with this is towards the very end of the game, and it's everything that I've had issue with.
3 left. Yeah, we're agreeing with you, Bailey.
3 left. Yeah. No, I'm did I say 3? I meant 1.
No. Yeah.
But I'm just, guys, I when I finished that episode, I was like, I am so tired of this. I am so tired of the so many times we've gone on really big highs, and then they just slam on the brakes, and I just feel like we're so late in the game that, to me, I don't have patience for that anymore, because I know there's only 3 left, and now I'm trying to figure out, what are they going to do? What are they going to wrap up in 3 episodes, especially if they're only 25 minutes long? So to me, I give it a 1 in that it's not the worst thing I've ever seen. It's just this is literally everything that I don't like in this show, and they just slammed it at the very end. I just think the placement.
Bailey, really quick, what's lower than 1 then? I'm confused. It's not the worst thing. You said this isn't the worst thing I've ever seen, and then gave it a 1. There's 0, lower than right? 1? Oh, 0. Okay, all right. Because I can see Brandon doing the math too.
Paul and I were just wait, 1 through 10,
-1, carry the 2, divided by pi is 3.19.
Negative number is 0. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
I'm not playing around, guys. I'm tired.
No, we knew what you meant. We just love to give you a hard time. And so this is, I'm going to get into, everybody else has given their assessment as well, and I appreciate that. And if you haven't, we'd love to hear what number you would give this episode, and if it's really high or really low, maybe a sentence or two to explain what your thoughts on this were. I mean, Bailey and Brandon have given some very good arguments on that, but this is the kind of stuff that drives me crazy. On the last 2 crates, the winches are why pull the ship up? Oh, okay. JT, I feel you, dog. I feel you. Okay. And from a former military guy, and if anybody is familiar with the Army, I am air assault. So I know about rappelling out of helicopters and doing all that. Pull the helicopter. Okay. Because why, Brandon? Because it's what? What's the whole show ever? Inconsistent. Exactly. And that's why JT.
So while we were talking about this, so I just checked because I was interested. The Mandalorian, each season had 8 episodes. They go anywhere from 30, 36 minutes, 37. One of them was 33 minutes. But I'm going to look at season 2, but season 1, episode 6. So pretty much, the same point that we're at with this. So, there's only a couple episodes remaining. Yeah. Was The Prisoner, where they broke out the Twi'lek, which, and then the one right before that was The Gunslinger, where we met Fennec Shan, but that's a lot of people's not favorite episodes. So that's 2 kind of right in a row that were bad. And then they had The Reckoning and Redemption with the Moff Gideon stuff for season 1. So it was like you've got all this stuff and then build back up. And then season 2, if I'm not mistaken.
Look at Brandon doing a comparative analysis, Bailey. Damn, he's good.
So are you saying, Brandon, that there's hope that they can turn this around?
Well, and I'm saying it's pretty much the structure of every and we get so excited for it, and we're like, oh yeah, those last 2 or 3 episodes, and I'm even gonna say the past 5 or 6 before this were really good, and then they need to pump the brakes to do an expectation check. Because in season 2 of The Mandalorian, they had the first 5 episodes, and the 5th episode was when we met Ahsoka. Okay. And then episode 6 was when Grogu got taken. And then 7 was that the big the hover tank hover tank episode, which
where they infiltrated the Dunian facility.
Yeah.
Or Red
And then I'm confused. And then it was the rescue. So it is very much like they build it up and then it's like, oh, and then they go bam, right back to it.
Why? That's what I don't understand. They don't do that in movies. When they build up to something, you get to the climax. It's not like this, whoop, we're going to just stop here. Books aren't written that way. You don't just when you start to get to the end. So that's what I don't understand. If that is their formula, why is that their formula? That's what I want to know. So
that's why we got you here, Bailey. You're the writer, so we were hoping you could tell us.
You need me up there. So.
Well, let me ask you a question, Bailey. In all seriousness, because I believe this is a proper metaphor. Do you like roller coasters? Mm-hmm. Okay, then why don't you like this? Because it's like whoa. I'm just kidding.
At least the drops are enjoyable. Fair enough. You still got the hairpin turns. You are engaged. Okay, it's not like the roller coaster stops and then you slowly get back.
Right. You have to get off and go to the next car. Right. Fair enough.
No. My God, don't worry, guys. The intermission. There's no intermission in roller coasters. There should be no intermission with this.
With serialized television. Fair enough. All right. All right. Well, let's see what some of the people have put in the chat. After that, I cannot wait to see what some of the numbers are. We got Gilster with a 6. Brandon, he's close to you. It wasn't as bad as episodes 2 and 3. I don't know about that. Your Left Coast with a 6. John's going to hit it with a 7. I think he's being pretty reasonable. Linda, once again, yawn. Come on, man. Empire, building empire, stormtrooper. Thank you, Linda. And I know what she means by no pew pew bang bang. So
yeah.
Of course, Left Coast loved it, but Hammerhead getting in on the action was the best part. Bailey, there you go. I'd give it a 3, but only
yeah.
otherwise it would be a 1.
That happened is they were like, Christmas is coming up and we gotta market something. So I could see that, just like how they're marketing the popcorn.
Merchandising. We need a Ruby plushie, exactly. Which we didn't even talk about. This big bad gangster is like a Bond villain. Yes, a little pussy galore or whatever. It's like, give me a break with the pets. But anyway. I fell asleep watching this twice. Yeah. Here we go again with JT. See, he's doing this just to get Bailey's goat. It's a 7.3 on the rubric, Bailey.
Guys, really, it doesn't bug me.
Matt's at a 7. You know what? There you go. She'd give it a 1.
Oh, Linda, I was starting to think I was crazy.
Yeah.
I think Linda was like a 1.
Am I that far behind? No, that's right. Because she'd give it a 5.
Yeah.
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 Oh,
she was shocked.
I'm tired.
Oh yeah. Oh, 1. Damn. Yeah. When Bailey's grumpy, they better come correct and forget about it.
Oh, trust me, this ain't grumpy. This is my I'm being very good. Guys.
I agree.
I cannot emphasize that enough.
For 13 episodes, I have been very impressed with how professional you've been, Bailey, because I know the real you.
People in the chat do too. One episode where people didn't message me beforehand.
It's upside down.
Yeah.
Upside down. Normally, people will say hey, this was good, yada yada. Nobody said anything to me with this episode. So,
right.
No.
You know what? And I'm a little far behind here, but I think these were coming in as you gave it a 1, Bailey, because JT is like with the face and Hilcher's like,
But again, guys, I don't say it out of hatred or anything like that. It's just me being honest, and that's that.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll go back and watch this episode again.
No, I will probably never watch this again.
Will I rewatch the stuff on Ryloth? Yes. Will I rewatch the first 2 or 3 episodes? Yes. Will I rewatch the stuff with the chip and with Rex? Yes. But this was, I don't think I need to see it again.
It's not necessary. Yeah. You know what? David agreed. I'm not misreading that, right, Brandon? He gave it a 1 too, because he was expecting so much more. He said we had episodes that were so good, and then come back with this. Yeah. Yeah. And then, you know what? Here's a question, Brandon, for you. If you saw this 4 weeks ago, and it's difficult to put your mind in that frame of thought, would you have liked it more, you think, or about the same?
No, because if it were 4 weeks ago when we got the other episode that was kind of like this, where they got Ruby and, they were still dealing with the chip and stuff like that, I would probably have liked this even less, because it would be, we are sitting there waiting for the Empire and Crosshair and all this stuff that really matters when it comes to story, for them to set up something that they'll use in something else. I am not sure how, but they will use the Pike Syndicate, and I don't remember the crime syndicate that Issa Roland's mother is the. Oh
yeah, he has the little thing on his lapel there. I can't remember the name of it either. Yeah.
Yep, and I feel like I actually would have lowered it if it had been in that string of episodes where it was like, God, get to the point, please. Like when we had the episode where they went and they got the senator off of Raxus, and then there was the Rex episodes. That was when I thought the episode started getting like, okay, this is the point of the show. They're actually doing stuff that is tying back to the Clone Wars and to this, and but what this episode did with throwing the Pikes in there is like, hey, remember these crime people from season 7? That's, unless we get something in the next couple episodes or next season, it doesn't seem like it's enough.
Fair enough. Bailey, really quick, if you saw this 4 episodes or 4 weeks ago, would you have liked it more?
No, my thoughts would be the same, and especially if it was in that string, I would be pretty darn close to giving up. So I think Brandon is, I would like it even less, because that by then I'm like, I am getting really sick and tired of waiting for something to happen. Where with this placement, it's like I just came off of seeing some really good episodes here, and this is catching me by surprise. Where if it was back then, oh God, I would be like, guys, I'm about ready to throw the towel in because
Mhm.
nothing's happening. So no, I think it would have been way worse if we pushed it to that time.
You know what? I agree with you guys, because there was a time there where even I was having second thoughts about, do we even need to be doing this live stream, for God's sake? So if they had pushed us 1 or 2 more episodes, we would have had a behind the scenes conversation. So I agree with you too. John makes an interesting point here. He backs up his rating. He says Filoni has often said he's not much into epic Marvel style action stories. He's more of a smaller world building stories kind of. He seems to revel in filler stuff. Yeah, clearly we've seen that, and so he's given it a slow 6.5. So, and then John kind of piggybacks on that. He's like, I don't think this is going to build anything. This isn't that type of show. It's just a mix mash of different stories. Bailey?
And my thing is, it's like, that's okay if that's the case, but my thing is, I have yet to see, like, why did the Bad Batch need their own show? Because in Star Wars, you guys know, if you really know me, you know that I feel that there are a bunch of stories that have left to be told, and that's not getting any light. But we have Bad Batch. That is what they're putting the time and energy into. And so I have yet to see, why did these individuals need their own show? And all I've seen so far is they are slightly different clones doing side quests, essentially. And they're on the run from the Empire. But they don't have like a huge part to play in the grand scheme of things. So that's the thing, is like, it's fine if we have like these little stories and whatnot. But I think that's where things like comic books and whatnot are like, I think there's a place for that, where like, if we're going to put time and energy into a show, especially an animated show, which I would say arguably has way more blood, sweat, and tears into that, and then like a live action, why? You have to tell me, why did these people need their own show? So I would hope that if we're going to put the time and energy into something, that wouldn't be the case of just like, this is just a,
Small little stories here and there, sure.
Yeah.
And the way that I've kind of changed my thinking, so I'm able to enjoy the show more, is I've thought of them as the guided ride where everything else is happening around them. They are a convenient group of people that are taking us through what is happening during this time that we wanted explored. Like, a lot of fans were, we were like really excited that we get to see what happened between Order 66 and, a New Hope. And we get to see all this stuff. So it does make sense where it might not all tie in, but we're going to get a little story on Ryloth here. We're going to get something with the crime syndicates. We're going to see the stormtroopers and how they evolve. So like, I've slowly changed my mind to where, like, I don't know if we'll ever get this big grand story that is about them, but they are the driving device that allows us to see what is going on during this time period.
So the name of the show is The Bad Batch as a convenience, but these guys are basically tour guides, is what you're saying, Brandon.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's a good way to put that, because I think we were expecting some in-depth stories about these really cool A-Team clones, and what we're getting is a mishmash of seeing stuff here and there. That's a definite way to look at it, for sure. Yeah. You know what? We'll move on then. Gilster 6, but wish it was better. I think the three of us are right there. Linda, the best part of this show so far is still the figures. And you know what? For as much as they have to pay for figures in Australia, that's saying something, that poor woman's. So we're a little behind on the comments, but I think David's talking about when you were talking about the Mandalorian arc, and I was thinking this in my head, Brandon, but I didn't say it. And it's probably just because it's live action and it's grittier and tougher. But even when the Jawa episode, which I think was episode 2 of the first season of Mandalorian, I was like, oh, God, a whole episode of him fight with Jawas, whatever. It was still better than anything I've seen in this. You know what I mean? So maybe
right. But yeah.
What were you going to say? Go ahead.
No, I agree with that, but I think you have to think about it when it comes to the size and scale of those projects. The Mandalorian was really the like driving force that brought a lot of people back to Star Wars, and of course they're going to put more effort into it than this show.
Sure.
And like as good as we want this show to be, they're still going to put more effort into the Mandalorian because it's live action.
Right. So the concept is the same as what you're saying. There's going to be highs, there's going to be lows.
Yes.
Depending on the media or the character, because I'm much more into the Mandalorian, than I am the Bad Batch. You're going to enjoy it more or less depending. Is that a fair way to sum that up, Brandon, or did I misrepresent what you said?
No, I think that's a good way to say that.
Perfect. That's a good answer because it is. There you go. Gilster Urso over here. Star Wars is built on hope. Yeah, and Matt's the same way. He's just at this point, they're just going to set up stuff for other seasons. And, so at that point, whatever. Let's see let me make sure I didn't miss anything. You guys are good. The best thing about this show is the Black Series figures. I'm not going to put that up, Left Coast. We're pretty PG-13 here. You know what, Matt, Bailey, this isn't a movie, it's a TV show. Go into it. Yeah. So I think you understand that, Bailey, and you're wishing that it could be more like a movie. Is that fair? I don't think Matt's deliberately trying to be argumentative.
I know that, of course, this is not a movie. What I'm saying was maybe it would have worked better that way for the sake of storytelling and getting us to fall in love with these characters, because it's being said over and over again that we like what's going on around the Bad Batch, but we're not falling in love with the characters themselves. And I think even if they are set up as tour guides, we should still have a vested interest in them, and we should still be if we're going to bring these new characters in, they should be doing everything they can to get us to fall in love with these new characters. And you can accomplish that in a movie. They don't, but I understand what you're saying, Matt. It's just, I think maybe just based on what I've seen, maybe that would have been better. I don't know. But then again, I don't know what lies ahead in the future. I'm not involved with Lucasfilm. I don't know what these plans are. I'm just speaking based on what I'm seeing. And you couldn't put that any better.
There you go. Yeah. JT reminds us, well, we all know here, but it's nice to hear because, these episodes always cause a lot of strife, not difficulty. No one's mad at each other, but people tend to not even take sides, but come at it from a different way. So all opinions and scores are welcome. And that's what makes this show so good. Absolutely. Here's one of the most hilarious things I've seen in the chat so far. Gil's like, where's Tarkin? And you get JT's like, I'd forgotten all about him.
I think at this point he's having a pissing contest with Vader, because in one of the comments they basically decide to go and hunt each other to see if they're who hierarchy is, bigger badass. And Tarkin almost completely destroys Vader, but I still think that in episode 4 Vader is Tarkin's biatch.
Yeah, it's pretty clear. And at some point, he's still dealing with Director Krennic that we know from Rogue One. We didn't know about until that in his year messing up the Death Star the whole time too. He's got to deal with that. So yeah, there are other things that Tarkin is working on, which is why we have Rampart. The Rampart is the proxy Tarkin at this point. Right. That proxy Tarkin. That's a good way to put that, Brandon. Yes, I agree with you. Oh, thanks, David. The only reason he watches it can watch it. David, you're awesome, man. I appreciate that. You know what? And I'm just going to throw this up real quick because John's experiencing the same thing we are. Our expectations are getting in the way. And that's human nature, and it should, because we were expecting something and we're not getting anything anywhere near close to that. And at times we've been able to reconcile it, and at other times we haven't. So we'll just muddle through it. But what have we always said, guys? It's better than the Star Wars we had right now otherwise, which was none, because it's still Star Wars and it's always fun. Ooh, I made that rhyme. Let's get through this really fast here. Not even a figure. Gilster Crosshairs. That's wow. Totally being argumentative. I think Bailey. Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Matt.
No, we knew that, Matt. We knew.
I did not think. I do not think you were yelling at me or anything one bit. Not at all. I can tell the difference. So no, you are totally cool. I know what you were getting at.
Right. You know what though? Left Coast and David are wrong. So just so you guys know, you're wrong. Episode 2 of The Mandalorian Blue. Just kidding. I love you guys. Thanks for throwing that out there. Oh my God. This has been another interesting conversation. I was hoping we wouldn't have to have another one of these guys, but here we are. So we're gonna do a little bit of my housekeeping really fast here. For those of you in the chat, for those of you watching on the rewind, this has been the Bad Batch Breakdown with Brandon and Bailey. We're here 6 p.m. Pacific every Saturday until at least the season ends. If there's a second season, which is starting to look like more there will be, we'll have to discuss whether we will be back. But 9 p.m. Eastern, and we appreciate having everyone in the comments. This one's been especially fun because when they suck like this, or they're not as good as the ones before them. That better, Brandon? Okay.
My 13th favorite episode.
Yeah. There you go. Right. Yeah.
13th favorite.
Yeah. When they're our 13th favorite episode, we know that it's going to be a bit of a haul, and having everybody in the comments providing some great feedback, some great observations, and some great questions has been awesome. But guys, under normal circumstances, we would do a good and a bad on this. Mm-hmm. But the good's going to be really short, so I'm not sure if it's necessary. And all we've talked about is how bad this episode has been. So I think it's appropriate at this point to acknowledge that we've had some great people in the chat helping us out, and kind of get to the point where, Brandon, I just kind of ask you, did I miss anything? Was there anything that you wanted to sum up about this experience here today in the live stream or about the episode?
No, I think we covered it. It's disappointing when we have episodes like this where we're like, man, we were expecting more, because there were times where, the last 2 episodes, especially, I was like, I don't know if there were things that could make this better other than Echo actually doing something. Mm-hmm. And when we flip the script and then I'm saying, well, these are the 1 or 2 things that I saw that made it worth the watch, that is kind of really telling for me.
Fair enough. Bailey, is there anything about this specific experience this evening or the episode that you wanted to get in before I start winding us down?
No, I think we've covered everything. I think, unfortunately, just this episode didn't give us a whole lot to talk about. I think it's the best way I could put it, because the things that are there to talk about, we've already discussed. And it would be like beating a dead horse. So I think, unfortunately, for us this weekend, oddly enough, we're still running, about the same length of our typical show, but I just don't think this episode gave us a whole lot to talk about, and I think we got it. Right.
Well, you know what? On the episodes where we have a lot to talk about, I try to keep us on task and going through the plot, and and each of you getting an observation about that specific plot point and then moving on. But the positive thing about this experience for me is when we get one of these episodes where you can sum up the whole episode really in 5 or 6 sentences, I get a chance to dig deeper into your guys' heads and dig deeper into the chat and have you tell me more about, where you're coming from as far as your experience. Bailey as a writer, Brandon as like a super fan who's wicked smart. And so for me, as the facilitator of these, although it's like trudging through, quickly drying mud, the flip side to that is I get to put on a different type of live stream with you guys. And that's fun for me too. So that's what I would add in there. And at the end of the day, we agree. It's still Star Wars, and it's still better than the sequels, as Linda put it. So for us, or for me, I don't know about you guys. I'm sure Bailey though. I'm going to hit some of the comments real fast here and see, what we got going up. I already mentioned that. John says it's better than episodes 2 and 3. So once again, it's all about perspective. He said the one with the girls is by far the worst episode. I didn't like them in the Ahsoka and Clone Wars. And Bailey, you want to argue with him? I didn't think so.
That would be my 12th favorite. They're right above this one.
Brandon,
you rated the Fennec one lower than that one.
I don't like, regardless. Like they could be erased from the canon, and I would feel so much better. But like, I think with that, I think there were other elements going on in that episode that got my attention, and they weren't. I think they were the only negative in that episode, so maybe that's why. But so I guess it would be my 11th. I guess that's the case. So either way, it's under 10. It's below 10, so it's deep. It's
So I think we're going to wind down with Left Coast's question here. We normally go out with a comment, but we're going to go out with a question. I'm going to have each one of you guys answer this before we go. Brandon, let's start with you. Left Coast doesn't think there's going to be a season 2. He thinks it's going to lead to a movie. Is that accurate? And what do you think?
I don't think so. I don't think it's important enough to get its own movie at this point. With the way that they like to stretch it out, I would say that they will do a season 2. And I know not everybody is focused on Marvel and Loki, but Loki ended, and at the end of the credits it was like Loki will return for season 2 of Loki, and I was like, oh, I expected them to finish it with those 6 episodes, and they totally could have just finished it with those 6 episodes. So I guess we'll see where the next 3 episodes take us. If they, it'll almost be with what they've done so far, and I look at it, and then if they finish and wrap everything up in these 3 episodes and we don't get to see as much of the Empire, the evolution into the Empire, I will be disappointed. I will definitely be disappointed if there's not a second season. If they do not wrap things up and there's a second season, I'm like, okay, it's another chance for them to show these stories. And maybe we do get a couple cool stories. Maybe I saw somebody earlier, Alderaan. Maybe we see Bail Organa. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So who knows? I will take it. I've gotten to the point where I need to start thinking about it as a whole picture rather than, because it is hard to, when we have the whole picture, it'll be easier to break down the episode and really see how important it was. And we won't know that until we know if there's a second season. So, yeah.
True. Bailey, I see you over there nodding your head as Brandon is speaking, and this is one of those occasions where I think you guys agree, but do you think we're going to get a season 2, or will this lead into a movie, or are we done after season 1? What do you think?
I think I'm just going to have to agree with Brandon, just based on what we've seen. If they were going to do a movie, I don't think we would have had the show. I think they would have just done a movie. Because even with the Clone Wars, like, that started with the movie first, and then we got the show. It wasn't the other way around. So I don't really see them doing that. And I just really hope, if they do decide not to go with the season 2, then they better really make these next 3 episodes count and wrap things up. But even then, I think 3 episodes, 25 minutes is not enough to show us the evolution of the Empire. And, just there's so many moving parts still that we have yet to see. And just these characters still need to be fleshed out clearly that it makes sense for there to be a season 2. And if that becomes the case, and I really hope they show us this big picture then. Because right now I'm just kind of like drifting in space. I don't know where exactly we're going here yet. And I feel like I should know that by now.
Agree. David makes a good point, just based on what you guys are saying. What sucks, we know they have the ability to create such great stuff. Mm-hmm. That's what bothers us even worse about that. So, well, we shall see. Brandon, we are on 13. You say we have 3 more left?
14, 15, 16.
Okay. As a teaser, we at the Bad Batch Breakdown have a special season finale live stream planned. And I'll release and talk about more of that as we go along. But please stay tuned, because we think that last episode of us breaking down the last episode of the Bad Batch is going to be a lot of fun. It's nothing super out of the ordinary, but we're going to try something a little different that day. So we're hoping that you continue to join us and pay attention, so you will find out what that is, and quite frankly, end up being a part of our show with us towards the end there. That would be awesome. We're going to start wrapping it up, though. Gilster, may the force be with you too, brother. It's always awesome to have you here, man. Thank you so much. JT, you know what, man? I'm going to have to get a different set of headphones, because these are going to start getting too tight with the last half hour has flown by. Thank you, Bailey and Brandon, everybody in the chat. You know what, John, thank you so much. Because we know so much about John, obviously everybody is important, but John is just like, man, what a wealth of knowledge and stuff like that. So to have him enjoy what we're doing is very flattering as well. There's Gilster with number. I'm assuming that's the number 1 finger. My vision's a little blurry.
He's pointing up at what David said about how.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not the middle finger, right, guys? Okay. Oh, let's see.
You want to go down that road with me?
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, are we that bad? Yeah. You know what, Matt? I don't know. It's not even going to be that cool, bro. I'm not buying pizza for everybody, just so you know. You know what, David? Thank you very much. We'll see. I got to check with schedules and these guys, but we're still got 3 episodes for sure. So we'll see what we do after this. But that last episode, we're hoping will be a fun, more of a group experience for everybody. Linda, thank you for stopping by. Bailey, Brandon, obviously. And then Linda, there's the Waltons. Night job, boy. You know what, Matt? I'm glad you could be here the whole time. Thank you. Another solid episode is awesome. Yeah, great to hear. Oh, yeah, and then Gilster. Yeah, he's like, yeah, I'm not flipping you off, Paul. Yeah. And we're going to what? That's a good way to put that, Mando. I hope everybody shares the same sentiment that Mando has in the comments. If you've been with us the whole time, man, we've appreciated you, even if you dropped by or, came by at some point. If you're watching us on the rewind, it's been awesome. So thank you very much. And with that, I'm going to get us out of here. But as always, I do what Brandon likes to call the weird thing. This is just your tradition on Paul's Collectibles. We will see you on the next episode.